Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello to you and welcome to a very, very cold Nurburgring. Now one of the things I wanted to do as part of the Ring Wing Ting trip was to drive each one of the 4 cars here on the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. So they also run Touristenfahrten drives here, and that means I'm going to be driving them back to back to back to back to experience each one of the cars and what they're like out on the track. So we've got the Mercedes Amg Gt R, the Vantage GT8, the new Porsche 911 GT3 and the Mclaren 675 LT Spyder, all track-focused cars. We are here at the moment in the paddock at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. You can see the cars blasting around in the background, but this is going to be an experience of what each one of these is actually like. And I don't think after this anybody can really say that these cars aren't driven properly. That's what they're built for, that's what they're here for. So let's pick one and head on out. I'll talk more about each car when I jump into them to go for their individual drives, but while we've got them all here lined up in a row, it's quite interesting how on the face of it they serve a very similar purpose. They're all track-focused versions of the manufacturer's respective road cars, but they do it in very, very different ways. Obviously they all have wings, they all have bucket seats, they all actually have Alcantara steering wheels, they're also all rear-wheel drive, but we've got different engine placements: rear engine, rear mid-engine, front mid-engine and front engined. We've got a manual gearbox in the GT8, we have a Spyder in the 675 LT, obviously the 911 has its GT heritage and history, and AMG built the GTR to really compete with the Porsches here at the Nürburgring. So I'll discuss more in detail as I jump into each one, but first it's going to be the latest addition to the collection, the 911 GT3. In its gelb-grün PTS paintwork that would normally be shining an awful lot brighter if the sun was out, the new 991.2 GT3. So obviously based on a regular Porsche 911, a car that has huge history and longevity in the time it's been on the roads. The GT cars come out of Porsche built for the racetrack, hence the wing at the rear. We have an awesome engine in this thing hanging out over the back, the 4-litre flat 6 that revs up to 9,000 RPM. It's my first left-hand drive car, the only one that I have at the moment, with carbon fibre bucket seats. It's also my only car that has a roll cage and harnesses as well for the driver, but 500 horsepower out of that engine. We've got the steel brakes, but the centre lock, platinum wheels. It's built to be driven right here. So let's jump in, get out of the cold and get onto this track in the GT3. I find myself lined up in the pit lane. This is actually, I think, the first time I've ever driven around the Grand Prix track, but I've passengered around a few times in the Bugatti Veyron Supersport, the Chiron, some track cars, GT3, Cup Car, GT4 Club Sport. So I've got a bit of an idea of where it goes, but nonetheless, first time doing a Touristenfahrten outing here. So just excuse me if I go a little bit gently to start with the GT3, the brand new toy, while I get a feeler for what's going on. So in a moment, the light should go green, and then we can start exiting the pit lane. We all go out together, so I might just let people get ahead a little bit to get a feel myself. There we go, green light. So we are into drive. Actually, I'll knock it to manual. We have the exhaust button open for as much noise as possible, because who doesn't want that? But here we go, the engine's warm, it's been sat for a while driving out and about, but it's time to go out on the GP track. I feel like I don't really know what I'm in for here, but I'm just going to take it easy, warm it up, let the tyres get some stick into them. Weird driving and not using all the revs that your car has to offer. It does sound so good though, even at this limit. I think a lot of people don't really know where they're driving. For example here, early braking coming into the first turn. It is a bit of a crazy one, this. If you don't see it coming, it can be very intense. So what can I tell you about driving the GT3 on the kind of environment I'm a little bit more familiar with? Higher speed, wider turns, more runoff, not the tight twisty stuff that you have on the Nordschleife. Well, the GT3 is utterly brilliant. It is so precise. You can place the car perfectly. The front end is wonderful. This gearbox and the way it shifts is just heavenly. It's a magical thing to drive, and I mean, this is my first time driving my GT3 on a track just as the first spatters of rain start to fall. The brake feel is wonderful, the pedal feel, to be honest, is great. I mean, one of the reasons I bought this car is because I expected in this kind of environment it would be an ideal thing to be driving. and it has to be said, it ticks the boxes that I wanted it to tick. You just feel confidence while you're driving it. Open it out onto the start straight, use some of the revs, and away you go. The noise is spine tingling the way it comes through you. I mean, all four of these cars I think are absolutely brilliant, which is why I bought them. Up to 200-ish down here. So we come down to the deceptive first turn. It's easy to turn in, or turn in way too late because you missed the brake point here, but we can come in, turn it tight down towards the apex, and away we go. And feel a bit of the balance of the car and where it's going, and use the width of the track. What a way to get started, and this is just being run in. I cannot wait for the track sessions I'm going to have in future with this car. Oh, down an extra gear that I probably didn't mean to do there, but hey ho, no bad thing. We get to go up towards 7k or so again, which is absolutely fine by me.
The GT3 was an awful lot of fun, looking forward to many more outings with that, but next up I'm going to pick the manual beast, the Vantage GT8. So we've got a 4.7 litre naturally aspirated V8 up front, only 446 horsepower or so, but this car's party trick is the noise that it makes and how it looks. It's the beautiful V8 Vantage but dialed up, obviously a tribute to the GTE cars. It's got the extended front splitter in place to match with the rear wing at the back, and of course the titanium exhaust system, which we all know and love. Inside, if you open up the swan doors, you can see it's all Alcantara, black with the orange stitching and embroideries to match with the orange accents that we have on the exterior of the car. But this is going to be next, and I'm quite intrigued to see what this is actually like when it's being driven in a slightly more adventurous way.
This is very much the last of the old school. It's got heavy steering, a heavy clutch. You need to be precise with the gear stick. And the noise, the naturally aspirated V8 noise. I'm gonna just take a line down to the right, I guess, for now. Those burbles and crackles. Let me get it warmed up a little bit and get familiar with the car, because I've not really driven it that much on this trip. And then come back to you with some thoughts. This thing is just a big angry brute. You point it where you want to go and make the most absurd cacophony of noise out of it. Yes, it could be faster, yes, it could be more powerful, and yes, it could also be a little bit cheaper. But this is to die for. Up towards the red line, that sound! That sound! We're up to 200 as well in here down the straight. My goodness. This is, quite frankly, the most ridiculous thing you can imagine. Having the splitters on the front end really does give it more grip. But you feel rewarded when you drive this correctly. When you make a good shift and drive a good line, the car tells you, and the feedback is just absolutely next level compared to the new cars. New cars praise the driver. This is, I would say, a new car, but still feels and drives like an old car. You still have to manhandle it and use some input to really control what it's doing. It's just not as fast as I think anybody really expects it to be. Oh, that's gone wrong. Let's let him go through before we catch him up out of this corner, I expect. You see what I mean by the sound? It's just, that is what makes the Vantage GT8. Nothing will ever again sound as good as this car sounds. It's just impossible. Legislation won't allow it. Cars can no longer do what this car does, and it does it as well as anything I have ever been in my life. No words needed. I probably could have stayed up a gear there, but every time you go down a bit further in the gears, you get to put your foot down and listen to it again. So unnecessary second gear just because. Who doesn't want to hear this thing going up to the red line here? Oh my good lord. Seriously. Wow. Oh, absolute wow. It's just a phenomenal thing. I mean, I'm going to take it easy and just back off and have a cool down lap before we get ready for something that is completely different. But this car, the smile factor is just on another planet, another universe. It's a different level.
Out from the hysterics of the silliest vehicle known to mankind, not to the LT next, but to the Amg Gtr. And the distinctive similarity between this and the GT8 is front-engined V8. Obviously the engine is in a slightly different position. The GTR has a massively long bonnet because the 4-litre twin-turbo V8 with 585 horsepower is positioned back there. It means you have a windscreen that sits very close to you, but this is a pretty fun thing to drive. It's an AMG that has that 9-stage traction control toggle in the centre, the yellow dial you can see, that lets you adjust how much slip angle you actually have out of the car. But obviously it's the hardcore version of the Amg Gt, the GTS. It also has a particularly special exhaust system. In fact, if you come down here, a lot of people don't realise it has those additional exhaust pipes at the side of the diffuser, but those are effectively almost free-flowing pipes out the back when you're giving the car quite a bit of a push. Inside, we've got bucket seats again, Alcantara steering wheel, and a car that is very much set up for this. So let's jump in and head on out. Amg Gtr then. When I started driving over towards the track, it was actually beautifully sunny. It is now very, very overcast, so let's hope the rain stays away. We're in Sport Plus, and the first thing you notice in here is quite how playful this car is. As soon as you're out on the track, he says, as a car in front has just spun out on one of the first corners. Cold tyres, people, be careful out there on the Nurburgring. Ah, that beeping, that is an interesting sound. I'm actually going to have to do something about it. The Mercedes pre-save system. So if it detects with the radar cruise control device a car coming to an abrupt stop in front of you, it actually slams on the brakes, which in this situation is the last thing in the world I want, because it's going to happen to me right here as it detects everybody coming to a stop. So I need to get to the right place in the menu in the assistance settings, brake assist, and deactivate. We are off. That's what we need for now. Back to the AMG menu. Okay, the shifting in here, the gear shifting is so fast. The noise of the blips is ferocious when you get the overrun burbles going, letting some track open up in front of me. But this car really praises the driver. You can jump into it and just push it and go, go, go. Through we go here. This car is fast, 200 very easily. Oh, it's starting to look quite grey. You never know where there might be rain falling. Oh, the seatbelt pulled tight on me. That was not what I wanted it to be doing. Thank you, security systems. I don't think there has ever been another car that is so easy to drive from the off as hard as the Amg Gtr. You just jump in it, grab it by the reins. I know I said that about the GT8, but that was a very different style. And here, you can really get something out of this car. This is astonishing. There is a unusual vehicle on the road in front of me here. This is what Touristenfahrten at the Nurburgring is like. You have to overtake on the left. I don't think he's going to make it very easy for me here. Which line is he taking? Which line is he taking? This is most odd right now. Okay then. went pretty quiet, I think, while driving here, because the concentration when you're pushing on that quickly, which this car lets you do so easily, you've got such an amazing control, and the balance between, or before it will snap and completely lose you. In some cars, especially with the engines behind you, they're very, very snappy. It just takes a small miscalculation and the car is gone. In here, you can feel that gap so phenomenally well. It's a remarkable car to just drive, and to drive really hard. That's why they've become so popular amongst drivers here at the ring, because it's a rival to, you know, to a 911, to a GT3 RS, to a GT3. Fascinating to drive the two back to back.
Wow, that thing is just incredible. It is the car that you can jump in and drive so hard, although don't get me wrong, the seatbelt thing is desperately irritating. However, that is not the final car to drive. I am now going to take out the flagship of this little selection, the McLaren 675 LT Spyder. 500 cars, 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 back there, rear wheel drive, 7-speed double clutch, carbon fibre tub, rocker paddles, brake steer, F1 technology everywhere, carbon fibre body panels, just like the GT8 actually in that last respect. But this is a serious supercar, 675 horsepower. It is astonishingly fast, and it's time now to take it maybe for a slightly gentle run around the racetrack, but it is LT time.
We are straight out onto the circuit in the LT. I literally arrived, they gave me a green light, and away we go immediately. So I need to get familiarised a little bit with this car, because it is so fast. It takes a while to kind of adjust to it. We've got active dynamics panel enabled, sport mode on the settings at the moment, manual paddles of course, just to get some more of that sound and the cracks that you get from this thing. To pick up speed so quickly. The air brake flies into the air when you brake firm. I'm just gonna warm up and get into this a little bit, because this is a very special, very, very valuable car. And like that, I don't want to push it out too far until I know what I'm doing. The other thing that I have to remember is that I'm driving on the Pirelli Trofeo R tyres. So these are basically almost, well, semi-slick kind of tyres. They do not have a tremendous amount of grip when they're cold in temperatures like today, or if it starts to be wet at all. However, foot down the straight, goodness me, 200 by the gantry. It starts to get very, very loud. I'm going to go on the anchors early, just first lap, getting a feel for the brake points needed in this car. Whoa. You know what, the other cars are fast, but I'd forgotten quite how fast the McLaren is, and I haven't yet put traction into the dynamic mode, so it's not, it has this kind of traction where it almost throttle lags you, just to control your speed a little bit. If you don't know what you're doing, so I'll go and press that in a moment. But whoa, just clinging on around here. So a press of ESC dynamic, just to not have throttle being cut quite so early in the turns. Woo! The speed with which this thing drives, honestly. The other cars were quick. This is just ballistic. That's kind of the speeds I was almost doing down the straight in the other cars. Down the back straights here. Goodness me, my goodness. The LT is so fast. And look at me, I've basically got a private track day here. There is nobody else that I've come across on the circuit yet. Shift lights are just epically cool. This is race car for the road. 240 onto the anchors hard as we come in towards the first corner. Wow. Goodness me. Can feel it all. Excuse me for going very quiet here, but the speeds with which I'm travelling around this track are very much taking concentration.
remember that the GP track here is very hard wearing on the brakes of the car. If I kept going for too many laps, it would be an expensive outing. As it is, it's the most monumental experience. This is really, it's taking concentration, but this is a supercar. This makes the others look almost like toys when you're out on a GP circuit like this. Late apex here. Unwind and away we go! To infinity and beyond, quite literally. I am obsessed with my 675 LT. It is just the most incredible car, the most capable car. 200 kilometers an hour around a corner. I'm sure I could go faster through here than I am, but you've got to play it a little bit safe, right? It's a public road after all. I think it's time to let the brakes cool down a notch and do a cooling lap. What a day! How would you ever choose between the different cars? I mean, for outright supercar experience, this has just blown my mind away. Before it though, the Amg Gt R was it's really the car that I feel so confident driving. The GT8 was just absolute laughs, but the GT3 feels so precise and lets you really, I guess, drive it. These cars all do this in a different way. They all have their own pros and perhaps cons as well, and different experiences. I feel like a very, very lucky person to have been able to do a day like this, genuinely, just thinking back for a second about what I've just done. And I want to thank every one of you for watching and supporting this journey and making it possible, because without you guys, I don't think it would be. This has just been an incredible day, and I've got this whole track to myself. Absolutely amazing. Speechless now. I'm just going to go away and take this all in.
This has without a doubt been epic fun, but just to put the icing on the cake, we're now going to take all 4 of the cars for a quick session together with Joe, Schmark and Ben driving the others. I'm going to jump back into the LT. I think it's the most incredible experience out of them all. This might not be the fastest thing in the world, but with all the cars together, it's certainly going to be pretty exciting to really culminate this adventure to the Nurburgring. So let's step in, get out on the Grand Prix track and take all of the cars together for a few laps.
This then is taking 4 cars onto a Grand Prix track in one, and there are some other cars around this time, not quite the private session I basically ended up with when I was out in just this car before, but everybody needs to do a bit of sighting just to know where the track goes. Starting to be a bit dusky. That view behind is absolutely incredible with all the cars. My word. Oh, somebody locked up already up in front of us there. Basically treating this as a bit of a procession, just to enjoy it and not cause anything too dramatic, especially not with cold tyres. Line behind though, lights on, coming over the brows, just looks absolutely mega. I shouldn't spend quite so much time looking in my mirror, but this is so fantastic to see. I'm just going to pull into the right and let them go past for a second. Wow! Wow! Massive wow! This is so cool! I hope
these guys are enjoying this as much as I am. The view from the back. The Wing Club. This is absolutely absurd. So much fun, just with Ben and the GT8 behind me, Joe and the Amg Gt R out in front. We've lost the GT3 for now, but it's still being run in. Let's get a nice flyby of the GT8, just to hear the sound of this thing. Comes the GT3, taking the wide line. I don't think I could really imagine a better way to end this day
than to be driving around this circuit, a proper track, probably costing myself a disgusting amount in brakes and general consumables on the cars. But just looking at what's going on, it's absolutely out of this world. This is just incredible. Even just now, parading around the circuit, looking in the rear view as they come around the corners one by one. This is the most mega thing ever. What a day. So, good times sadly have to come to an end, but what a way to do it. For me, this day has been out of this world, driving all 4 of these track focus cars, one after the other. It seems like a long time ago that I started in the new GT3. I'm looking forward to stretching the legs a little bit further, but that is the precision tool. Then jumped to the GT8, which is all about drama and just sheer bonkers excitement, and it does that like no other. Then to the Amg Gtr, which, like I said, really allows you to push on so much more than you might ever initially expect that you can do, before the ultimate supercar, the 675 LT. This just in another league. The way it pulls away, the speed that it can hold through corners, absolutely incredible. I feel very lucky right now to not only be able to drive the cars, but to know that this is my garage. And honestly, a big thanks to you guys for all of your support through these adventures and journeys. I'm gonna have to go away and have a really big pinch to take in what today has involved. It's been incredible. So I hope the guys enjoyed driving the cars. That last way to end has just been brilliant. But this trip, the Ring Wing Ting, I know it's a silly name, but what a trip it's been. Thank you very much for following the videos. I really appreciate it. That is it though for now. I will be back with you again very soon. Cheers.